Hi guys, thanks for watching our video on the floor build-up last week. It was really a pain to have to go up and do that floor build. Some of you had some really good comments. You noticed that it was tongue and groove and that we're putting it up and it's a finished material, and it's a really bad time to put that up when there's no roof on the house. It's basically exposed to elements, and you guys are dead on. And believe me, the two of us thought for many hours on how could we avoid putting that tongue and groove up. There just really was no way.
That upstairs floor actually tied the whole building in all the way around. So you basically built the floor and encompassed it with the beams that were already there, and then you plywood it in, and it actually gives the building a lot of structure that way. So that's the way it had to go in. I mean, if it starts raining, you got some really nice tongue and groove that doesn't have a sealer on it or anything like that. And so I mean, wood swells when water hits it, and tongue and groove makes it even worse. So pressure's on for getting the rest of this thing on and getting a roof over the top.
But the big goal is we need to get the upstairs levels SIPS up, and in those SIPS is the rafters and all the beams that tie in to make up the roof system. So now that we're working up a whole nother level, we got the boom truck back in service, and it's been really helpful. Basically, there's these plates that come with the SIPS panels, and you screw the plates onto the panel, and then you crane it up in place and set it in place. And it's not that simple because these panels are really big and they're really bulky, and even though they're light, they are not that light, and they blow around in the wind. So anyway, we've started with the front great room. I've been really anxious to get the SIPS up on the great room because I want to see what the windows look like. I want to see what kind of view is between the SIPS. But he has been like, no honey, hold off, because that front great room wall is going to be like a giant sail, and there's nothing supporting it. It's exposed on the top and the sides, and he's just been really concerned that we're going to create a situation that's not good because it's a really high wind area. Once we got the SIPS on the great room done, we had to start working on the SIPS around the two sides, the attic and the kids' rooms. This house is a hybrid. There isn't as much timber in the upstairs where it's not as exposed to save us some money, so the timber actually ties into the SIPS as support. Now that creates a little complexity because one second you're setting a SIP, and the next second you're setting a beam inside the SIP, and you're kind of going back and forth. You know, you're changing tools and you're changing techniques at the same time. So it saved us some money, but it's created some definite headaches on the construction end.
And so there's a lot of timber that had to go in place after the SIPs were up because they went into beam pockets that are in the wall. It made it really interesting when we were setting all these beams and stuff. Not only has the house gotten bigger, but you're higher, and you're working even further in the air. So you got the boom truck on a beam, can't pick and put it where you want it now. It's not as easy. So there was a lot of moving things around. The second store timbers were definitely a challenge, trying to make sure they all fit and went in there right. So after we got all the roof rafters up, it was pretty exciting to see that part happen and be done.
The yard's looking a lot cleaner, and we're having a lot more space around too.
So we're pretty relieved that all the timbers are up for inside the building, and also all the SIPs are up too.
We are almost ready for tongue and groove to go up on these rafters and get this place shedding water, but there's one more step. We have to extend the vapor barrier, which is the SIPS, from the wall over the tongue and groove.
We got to the part where we're starting our tongue and groove, but now we got to make to where our wall panels, which are already a vapor barrier themselves, to where it comes up on the roof, and so we have a seal on the roof. So we're putting this tape on. We'll let this come over top of the tongue and groove, and then there'll be ice and water shield over the top of the tongue and groove. What this does is it gives you a vapor barrier seal on the inside from the outside environment. In Alaska, in cold places, you do not want moisture in your walls, and the reason for that is because moisture can escape and your walls rot, and basically your building will fall apart.
But normally it's Friday, we would just be done for the weekend because everybody needs a break and get refreshed, but that's not the case here. It's like we've got to get this shed in water, and so we're just gonna start working on the tongue groove and just keep working through the weekend and get as much as we can get done.
So first thing, we got to start this one off, and we got a little bevel here so that we can put our sheetrock in later. And then we're going to come in here and we're going to put in these shims. There we are, we got our spacers. Now, peel it off. Get our first one put in. The next piece going in. So now you can see how this detail is going to be a little better now, because now this is going to come over top of the tongue groove, and then we'll have some ice and water shield that's going to come over the top of this. You know, basically we don't have air gaps going from the inside out the side.
So you know what we'll be doing this weekend. We shall see you next week. Hope you enjoyed the video.
Yeah, tell them we'll see you next week.